Hey everyone, hope you're keeping well. So I recently sat down with Leila and Tom of The Damn Truth. We spoke about their most recent album, Now or Nowhere, which is one of my favorite albums of 2021. In fact, it made my top 10. You may remember I did a top 10 albums of 2021 podcast stroke radio show with my good friends Aaron and Ryan of Beyond the Vibe podcast. And in fact, it was one of the few albums that appeared on all three of our choices. So that goes to show you how good an album is. If you've not heard it yet, go grab that. I promise you, you will not regret it. So yeah, we spoke about the album, their upcoming tour with King, where they come to the UK. Not for the first time, but for the first time since I've heard them. So I cannot wait. I will be at the Apex gig in Bury St Edmunds. So if you're coming along to that, then do not miss this set. In fact, if you're going to any date on the King tour, don't miss this set. You will not regret this one, I promise you. Yeah, and you can hear everything about what we had to say about that right now. And we're joined by Leila and Tom of The Damn Truth. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Very good. Thanks for having us.
Pleasure to speak to you guys again. So first of all, happy belated birthday to you, Tom, dude. Hope you had a good one, mate.
Yeah, it was great. Started the morning at a bar, then went to another bar, went some drinks in the afternoon in another bar, then went to a fancy restaurant at night, and then went to see a concert, and all happened in our apartment.
Sounds like a hell of an apartment you got there, mate.
And just the two of us as well.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound that bad a night, to be honest. So as we were saying, in a couple of weeks' time, you're coming over to support King on the UK tour. I can't wait to see you guys live. Being a big fan since I heard the Now or Nowhere album last year, and obviously this is going to be my first time seeing you guys live, so I'm excited as hell to have you coming over, man.
Oh, thanks, man. We just can't wait. Feels like we've been in prison for a couple of years, so it's really we're really excited to get on the road and to get touring again and to be able to come and play a bunch of shows, not just like a one-off or it's really exciting to be able to have a whole tour planned, and that's it's kind of unbelievable. Our brains can't compute that it's 2 weeks away. I can only hope that that everything will happen the way it should, and we'll make it over there.
We had to cancel so many tours, last minute, or over the last couple of years. It feels surreal for sure.
I was going to say, because you had the mainland European dates get cancelled like right at the 11th hour as well, didn't you?
Exactly. Like all the bags are packed basically, and 2 hours before we were headed to the airport, and the management and the label had to pull the plug because it was too iffy. That it was like Omicron had just sort of started, and then all these new restrictions were happening in countries that had never been restricted before, in Scandinavia, for example. And it was just in Belgium, it was just like date after date was just like cancel, and it just didn't make sense to get over there anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crushing. That was really hard. I mean, everything's been rescheduled for April, so fingers crossed that that's going to happen as well. But as for us in the UK, things are looking good. I was watching the news last week or whatever, and the Prime Minister said this is it's a go. We're letting everything loose. I was very excited.
I bet. So I know you've done like the odd date here and there, and you've done a couple of live streams. You got one tomorrow as well. But have you managed to do any sort of regular shows since this whole thing kicked off a couple of years ago? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we just November, December, we did a tour here in Canada.
Okay,
it's great. It's a fun little theater tour, and it was just as there were kind of lifting restrictions again, so everybody was so happy to just be out again and see live music and all that. Not in the summer, actually, it was also in the fall. We played a festival here called Osheaga. It's the biggest music festival in Canada. Nice. It was obviously COVID version of it, but it was still fun to do that. That's about it.
Yeah.
At least you've got to play some shows.
But I mean, I consider ourselves very lucky because throughout the whole pandemic, like in any kind of capacity that they were doing shows, we got to do the thing, So we did the drive-in show last summer.
Okay, cool.
And then we did the festival version of COVID, and then we did the COVID tour. Everybody has to sit separately from each other with masks on, and then we did the COVID where they could stand next to each other but still masked. We did
all the versions
of the COVID show with that.
What was the
I am excited to feel the,
Yeah.
you know, the no restrictions once
Yeah.
again. I mean, I imagine, of course, whoever wants to can be masked, and of course, you know, we're whoever, you know, feels the importance of being protected. You know, to each his own. I would really,
Oh
really
yeah,
love
definitely, yeah.
people to come and do what's best for them. And I think we just need live music. You know, we need to perform, but we need that connection. We need to be traveling, and we need to feel our audience again. That's the kind of stuff that we live for.
Because it was kind of difficult to give 110% of yourself when a bunch of people are just kind of like sitting in their cars in front of you. You know, it was.
Yeah, I was
still
going to
fun
say that
to
must have been
do that.
weird for you guys, the driving thing. I mean, I've not attended a driving show. I had a couple of friends attend some driving stuff, and I was like, well, you know, what do you do? Obviously, normally, it's the music you feel, so you're dancing, you're singing away, you're enjoying yourself. And I was like, how do you, you know, replicate that? And they were like, oh, there's just a lot of people honking cars. And I was like, that's just weird.
Pretty much. Flashing their lights, honking cars.
Yeah.
We were like at the end, like I would say midway through the show, people were just like, well, fuck this. And they just like stepped out of their cars, and we're just basically sitting on the hoods and stuff. So, you know, it was kind of like a show, but
Yeah.
not really.
We pushed some, you know, we ran around in between the cars a bit. You know, we ran off stage. We did things we weren't really supposed to. I mean, we masked up, but then we just sort of like ran between the cars. And, you know, we did what we could.
You got to do what you can to, like you say, trying to get that reaction. You know, that interaction, both as, you know, as me as a fan and the artist on the stage, is what makes the gig special. So you got to try and recreate that somehow.
How's it feeling in the UK? Have you been to a few shows?
Yeah, I've been to a few shows since. I mean, I was lucky that my Just Push Play festival, which was at the end of July, the restrictions there just opened up literally sort of 2 or 3 weeks beforehand. I'd already pushed it back a year. I thought I was like that, whether I was going to have to do that again. But fortunately, we didn't. And when we were setting up, it was like, you know, it's like staff, because we hold it at the same place you guys are playing at Kinky, at the Apex. So all the staff over there are really cool, and, you know, you're respectful, and we were masked up while we were setting up and everything. And I was obviously there early doors to help the techs and the roadies and everything. And I was speaking to Mark, who we meet, you play, he's a nice guy, the sort of stagehand, front house guy. We were all masked up and made, well, we're going to have to do this, this, and this. And then once the show was starting off and the bands were playing, it was, a lot of people were of the same mindset of me, of, look, I've been wanting this show for, you know, I've been wanting a live music show for like 2 years, so we're just going to enjoy it. And, you know, we'll, if we have to pay for it later, we'll have to pay for it later. But there was a few people in the crowd who were, you know, they still wore their masks. They wanted to keep social distance. Obviously, they were more than welcome to do that. And equally, there was people down the front, no masks, arms around their friends, just enjoying the music and going for it. But the first show I went to, as a punter, I guess, rather than sort of working so I could enjoy it properly, I felt a bit the same, because we went to go see the Wild Hearts, and it was like, what do I do here? Because normally, you know, at a gig, you're with like-minded people, you're all there for the same reasons. You know, if you get a little bit excited and you fling your arm around someone you don't really know, it doesn't really matter, and everyone's cool. But equally, you didn't want to sort of cross that barrier and make anyone else feel uncomfortable, because, you know, you're all there for the same reasons. But no, it's been pretty cool. I think everybody's been pretty respectful. Like you're saying about, you know, everyone who wants to be down the front and singing away and dancing and jumping around and enjoying themselves are doing that. Equally, people who may be a little more cautious for various reasons. Everyone's got their own reasons why they would be, you know, they're more than happy to stand there with the back, and no one's having a go at anyone for doing either of the other, depending on what side of the coin you're on. So it's been quite cool, I'll be honest.
That's great.
That's great.
That's good to hear. Yeah.
Like you say, it's just good to have live music back.
Yeah.
You know, it was the longest I went for without live music since I'd never been to a gig before, sort of thing. You know, from being 11 years old and going to see Aerosmith with my dad, it was like, after that we would go to gigs quite regularly, me and him. And then I got a bit older and started finding my own things and my own friends and going to gigs regularly again. So it was like the longest period of time that I'd ever been without seeing any live music. So it was a bit weird, especially when I went to go see These Wicked Rivers, who's Aaron of Beyond the Vibe, who you guys have been on.
Yes.
Yeah, we went to see his band, and that was initially supposed to happen as the lockdown restrictions were being lifted. So it's supposed to be like the first weekend, everything was back up and running again. But unfortunately, the lockdown restrictions got delayed. They still did the show, but it was a restricted show, and it was all seated and stuff. I'd never been to a gig unless I was a big theatre right at the back somewhere where I was seated throughout the whole thing. So that was a bit odd, especially as I knew a lot of the guys playing, and normally I'm stood up enjoying myself, and even to the point where the other band I had on the thing, Wiltshire, they're good friends of mine. They played Just Push Play, and then they were sort of restricted to being at the merch store, and I couldn't go say hello, which was kind of odd. But it's just one of those things. It's just the way it had to be. But I was just glad to have live music back at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's been cool. But you guys have had quite a good little run actually, because you've obviously you released Only Love, and then the third win on Classic Rock Magazine for their track of the week. That was awesome.
It's really
Got
crazy.
the best fans, man. It's crazy.
It's great, man. I love the video you did for it, Tom, by the way, dude. I thought that was wicked.
Thanks. I came down with COVID, and I had nothing to do, and I was basically in jail in the back bedroom. And I made a video for Only Love because I had nothing else to do.
Well, at least you did something positive with your time, mate.
That's it.
You could have done a lot worse, but that looks great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was not that difficult to deal with the virus.
Yeah.
So you just needed to keep isolated.
Exactly. Just the isolation was the hardest part about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've been quite fortunate. I mean, I've had members of my family catch it, but I've been fortunate I've not caught it myself. But yeah, I can't imagine anything worse than having been stuck in a room. So at least you did something good with it, mate. That's the main thing.
Just to keep sane.
You can't do something to keep sane, mate, when you're on your own. So obviously you released Now or Nowhere last year. That was one of my albums of the year. Is there any plans for a follow-up yet, or are you focusing on the tour dates for now?
For sure. We are hoping to do another album with Bob. I mean, we only got to do, half of it, and there's a lot more songs, and we're just discussing with our management today about trying to get booked, to lock him down for some more dates as soon as possible. We're not really sure. We haven't been able to stay close in touch in this
Of course.
COVID days, but it was always when we did leave off, it was always with let's do this again. It was very, very positive, and we had such a great time with him. And I think it was mutual, and I think I'm definitely hoping that there will be a follow up to it with Bob, because we've been writing. Tom's been writing a lot, and there's definitely a lot of creativity, and so for sure.
Yeah, we definitely want to make another record, but also, I mean, in my mind anyway, Now or Nowhere is the best record that we've ever done, and we never had a chance to tour it, or to do anything with it. So it's like you make a record, you go on the road, you get to live through those songs for a couple of years, and I don't want to give that up yet, because I really want to bring those songs and this show that we've been working on to as many people as possible, And it's just kind of been unfortunate that nobody could have seen that this thing's going to last so long,
No, this is it. I mean, like you say, no one could have been known it was going to last for nearly 2 years, well, going on 2 years now. And I can't imagine what it's like when you've put an album out there that you've poured your heart and soul into, and then you can't go and play those songs live, like you say. That must be, I can completely understand why you want to give those songs out, get them the road test, because I've been waiting 2 years to hear them live. So you guys have got to be waiting even longer to play them live. So.
Cool. But maybe there's a happy medium where we can still tour and do the album in between, maybe something like that. We'll see.
Like you say, it's just it's a pandemic that's never hit the world, and no one really knows how they're going to react to it. So just find your way with it, I guess.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. So what is the rest of the year holding up for you guys other than the tour with King? You got any other plans? You must do, but
the rescheduled dates for Europe are happening throughout April, and it's going to be a long one, because I know that they're looking into adding some festival dates in May as well. So I think it's going to be quite a long tour for April, May. Summertime, we're hoping for some festivals here in North America. But again, it's like things are still being booked and rebooked, so it's very, very hard like that. The only thing that's right now set in stone is UK and Europe.
I'm sure there's going to be more Canadian dates coming up, and hopefully some US dates. It's been kind of difficult to navigate between Canada and the US in the past couple of years. Different regulations, even though we're so close to each other, it's
the land border has been closed,
the land border has been closed, so we couldn't really get to the van and drive to New York City or anything like that.
Even though we're 5 hours away, we just couldn't do it, really.
So we're just kind of looking forward to this whole period to be done with, and we can, you know, do our thing again.
And progress and move forward. I think, like you say, a lot of bands are in that scenario. I've certainly talked to a lot of outfits. So, you know, like yourself, put out killer records and then just stopped. You know I was speaking to some good friends of mine in those damn crows where I had headline Just Push Play. They, like yourselves, had the album launched literally at the end of February, all set to tour the world, tour the UK, tour overseas with it, and then everything just stopped. So I know they were in a similar battle to yourselves, whether do we, you know, just carry on and do another album, or do we give this album the, you know, the love and success that it deserves and go out there and road test these songs. I think there's a lot of bands out there at the minute in a similar position to yourselves, unfortunately, but let's just hope live music returns and we can get that live feed going again.
Right. I agree.
Definitely, bud. So have you got any, obviously you were saying about the album earlier, how was it working with Bob Rock? Because that must have been awesome. I know we spoke about it before briefly, but working with Bob's got to be something. What impressed me about the album, though, I said to you before, Leila, was the fact that obviously you did the 6 songs with Bob and then you did the rest yourself. I honestly, as a listener, didn't know that had happened until I read the press release when Pete Noble sent it across.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you self-produced for the songs, because there's no dip in terms of quality, which was insane when I read that back.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, I think that Bob's influence on the record, I mean, the guy's a genius, he's a musical genius, obviously, and his tone and his sounds are great. But it's a very subtle thing, you know? I mean, it's like, we've been a band for a while, we have a sound, and we know what we're doing. And the way we kind of stepped into the studio with him, we knew that we only have a limited amount of days, that we were ready to go. I mean, he made some changes. Only Love is one of the biggest things that he actually has changed on the record, because he wanted us to speed up the song. It used to be a kind of a ballad.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, it was a slow kind of a song, and he just heard it faster, and he made us play it faster, and it kind of happened in a couple of takes, and that was it. But I think the reason why you know, the production doesn't kind of suffer so much from Bob to us is I can definitely hear the difference when I listen to it, but I think for everybody else, it's just because it sounds like the damn truth, you know?
Yeah, sounds like you guys.
Yeah.
So how did you guys feel when you had, you know, you had Only Love, how you crafted it, more slower, more ballad type thing that you were just saying about, and Bob said you wanted to speed up? Were you sort of open to it, or did you have your doubts until you gone with it? Or?
Well, I for sure didn't know how I was going to be able to sing it, because it already felt like it's very wordy, and how was I going to be able to like articulate properly when it's like sped up almost double time what we had practiced, and you know. But so I was a little weary of that. But then I guess once you know, once you get to that point where you're working with Bob, you want his input more than anything. You know, you want to learn from him. You want to take his ideas, and you know, if things are like brewing in his mind, then you want to try them out, because that's Bob Rock, you know.
And he tells you right, like one of the first things he told us when we got there is like, listen, my word is not set in stone. It's like, we are together in this, and we're going to try stuff. If you don't like my ideas, we're going to move on. And no, I don't get offended. That's what he said. So it's like, and everybody's got ideas in the studio, including him, including us. And sometimes your ideas are good, and sometimes they're not so good.
That's cool that he's got an open mind.
Hits the park pretty good, but
that's cool that he's still open-minded about stuff as well, because it'd be very easy for a producer with his career and his caliber just to go, you know, what I say is right, and you know, I'm Bob Rock, so to speak. So it's cool to know that, you know, although he's obviously invested in the artists that he do, otherwise he wouldn't say, look, why don't we try this? Why don't we tweak that? But it's cool to know that he's not, right, it's my way or no way. It's good, because
from my experience, it's usually actually the other way around. It's like usually the artist that's very set in his way or her way. It's like you write a song and you're very attached to it, and you have a vision of what you wanted in your head. And if you're not open for suggestions, then I suggest not working with a producer and just do it yourself. But if you are going to work with a producer, especially somebody like Bob, then, you know, you have to show us a bit of humility, and you want to learn from the guy. Like Leila said, it's like, he's one of the most legendary producers in rock history. We're not going to step into that studio and be like, fighting with him, you know. It's like, it's not what we're doing this for.
There's no point. Yeah, kind of counterproductive.
It would be. So when it comes around to the next record, would you be wanting Bob to produce the whole thing, or would you want to do a bit of sort of co-producing with him as you've had that experience now and doing it a bit more?
It's a good question. I mean, I myself would love to have more time in the studio with him. I feel like it was just like the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we got 4 days. You know, if we can have 2 weeks with Bob, I think something like, you know, I believe something really, really, really incredible could come of it. You know, like we were all pushed to our limits as our artists, but that was in 4 days. Like, what could he do with us with 2 weeks? You know,
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome. And I think we all like, you know, we put our best foot forward, and in a way you also want to impress, you know, you're there to impress this incredible man. So you give even more than you thought you had.
It's just a feeling with the studio is owned by Brian Adams, where he works in Vancouver, Canada.
Okay.
And I mean, it's Bob Rock's working there, and it's like he has the best like personnel, as you can imagine.
Best team.
And it's like it's more, you know, when you step into a studio, sometimes like a lot of people record, including me, whatever, you record in home studios, you do demos and whatever, and there's a certain amount of comfort, right? But it's kind of like sports, you know, it's like when you step into Wembley Stadium and you have to like, this is your chance now, then you have to bring it, you know what I mean? So it felt the same way when we were in the warehouse in Vancouver. It's like, well, we're paying a lot of money for this. This is, you know, the major league. This is where AC/DC, the Rolling Stones, this is where all these guys make records, you know, and now the Damn Truth is going to make a record here. And we want to bring our A game for sure. And it's like the Olympics, you know, you prepare for it, and then you come and you give it your best shot, and you only have one shot to do it. There's magic to it.
I imagine there is, in a sense. I've never been in studios of that caliber. Like myself, I've only been in small studios, local studios, that kind of thing. But I can imagine in a studio like the Warehouse, so you've got, you know, like you say, you get all those artists and albums that are being created in there. It's got to feed into you guys somehow. You know, you've got to pick up on that, certainly.
Absolutely. I remember like there was a specific moment, for example, where Bob was trying different microphones on Leela's voice. And he had all kinds of microphones where, oh, this is James Hetfield's mic, this is Frank Sinatra's mic, and whatever. Wow. And we're like, she chose the Frank Sinatra mic, and she was like, oh, I'm going to sing into a microphone like Frank Sinatra used to sing. And Bob's like, no, you're going to sing into Frank Sinatra's microphone.
Like
his actual mic, you know?
not just the model.
Yeah. So it's pretty crazy.
I imagine that was a complete mind fuck, singing Frank Sinatra.
Big time, you know, and the same thing with the guitars that Tom got to play on, or the basses that PY played on. It's all like these instruments themselves have a soul and have a history, and you know, to have that, you know, the ability to touch it and to use it to our advantage is mind blowing. Yeah. Absolutely.
This goes back to that connection thing, doesn't it? Even if I said before, I'm a bass player myself, and I know I've been after certain bass players, bass models, you know, and I've picked up 6 of them before I found the one that I bought, and they're all the same model, they're all the same make.
Right.
Which one is it?
I play Dean Hillsborough's.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been playing them. I was playing Fender Precisions for a long time, and then I'm a big Blackstone Cherry fan, and John always played Dean Hillsborough's, and I always really liked his sound. And I played a couple of them, and it didn't feel right for me. And I like the look of them, and I like their sound, but there wasn't connecting like I was my old Fender. And then I was going to a guitar place with my friend. He was getting his amp fixed. He went to go collect his amp, and while he was getting it and paying up sort of thing, I went, well, I'm just going to go have a look at the basses while you're sorting yourself out. Now, kid in a toy shop scenario. And they had this Dean Hillsborough on the wall. And I said to the guy, Steve, who worked there, who I know quite well, I'm like, hey man, let me have a play on that. And he's like, Lee, that's the 3rd one in this store that you've picked up. Will you just buy one? I was just like, I'll be all right, just let me have a play. And I plugged in tomorrow the orange amp, same model that I've got. And I don't know what it was. There was just something when I picked up that particular one, it felt like home. You know, and I started playing it, and that was it, and ended up walking out with it. So I'd been, you know, saving and looking for a new bass for a little while, but yeah, ended up walking out with it. Like you say, there's, you know, anyone who tells me musical instruments don't have soul and a personality, I'll say you've never played anything in your life. So
that's true.
No, for sure.
So you got a favorite guitar then you like to play more than most then, Tom?
Yeah, I got a few. I mean, been lucky enough to have guitars built for me specifically.
Oh, nice.
So I got a couple I got a signature model that I really like from this company called Bunting. They're based out of Israel.
All right. Okay.
And I got a flying V-type guitar that probably the best luthier in Canada is a guy named Shemerr. He builds all kinds of guitars and also violins and cellos, and it's just a mega luthier guy that he heard our music on the radio at one point and reached out. It was like, I got this guitar that I built for myself for my 40th birthday. And, I put everything I have into it, but it's just sitting in my basement and it needs to be played. And it was, I went to see the guitar and it was like in pristine condition. It's like made out of the best woods or whatever. And he was like, I want you to have it. And he gave it to me. I started crying immediately.
Wow.
And I've been playing that thing ever since, but it's gotten pretty beaten up over the years. And I went to see him the other day to get the guitar ready for tour and whatever.
Yeah. And
he was like, I don't think he was super happy. It was like, you're putting the miles on that thing. And I was like, well, please. Of course, he was just joking.
Yeah, he's joking a little bit.
Yeah. And both those guys that I mentioned, they're in the process of building me new guitars right now. So it's pretty exciting. Cool. Yeah.
You prefer that than a more custom kind of job for yourself to just fit suits what, how you're playing?
What opened my mind to that was that we were on tour with ZZ Top at one point.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, we opened for ZZ Top here in Canada, and that was when Dusty was still alive. Billy, he only plays custom guitars.
That's true.
And he only plays custom amps. And just being in that environment and seeing like his tech every day, setting up the guitars and what he's got there, and like just looking at it, like I didn't touch any of his stuff, but just like looking at it and the way they were treating the guitars, and each guitar was different, and each guitar was made for a specific purpose and a specific song, and just for Billy's hands. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. It's like, it's not one size fits all. This is like made for him. And that kind of opened my mind to the possibility of that world. And since I went down that path, I don't think I'll ever buy another like off the shelf Fender or Gibson. It's just
That's the thing though, with ZZ Top, their guitars have always been statements. Whether it was like the fluffy guitars or the stressed out. Every single one of them has been. Dusty Hill was a huge influence on me as a bass player. So I know what
amazing. It was just the nicest guy too. Honestly, the first guy in ZZ Top to come up to us and introduce himself and just hang out, and he's just a sweet man.
No, that's cool, man. It's good to know. So about you, Lilo, have you got any favorites that you like to play more than others, or?
Well, kind of the same story for me. There's this company here out of Montreal. They're called V8, and they basically do custom guitars and custom motorcycles and custom cars, and it's super, super cool. Very, very some of their stuff is very rockabilly, very vintage looking. And I picked up this guitar that they had at I think that actually they brought it out to one of our shows. They kind of had a feeling that I was gonna like it, and they brought it backstage. And the minute I held this guitar, it's this sparkly aquamarine one that I have a lot of photos with. Yeah, it's called a Sparkle Tone, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. Like from the moment I picked it up, I was inspired. I wrote that same night. I already wrote a song on it, and it's just there's a feel to it. And also there's the same company that built Tom's guitar, Bunting, made me my off-white guitar as well. So those are two incredible guitars. That one of them serves the purpose of just being a hard-hitting rhythm guitar with humbuckers and just a loud guitar, and then the other one is more it's just more melodic and beautiful, and it's I don't know. They're that exactly. They serve their purpose. They each have songs that work better with one and then the other, and I love them both very much. Yeah.
All right. So if anyone's listening and they're not coming to see King, or they are coming but they haven't heard you guys specifically yet, what would you say to them? Come.
What would I say? Come, come to the show. Oh man. It's hard to say. I just we love to meet people, we love to make new friends, and for us it's not just the performance, it's actually hanging out before, after, as much as we can, to get to know people, and that's the way for us to really travel and to get inspired. And so that's
absolutely. One of the things that really inspired Now and Nowhere was the intense touring that we've done before we recorded the album. And, you know, you get to travel and meet people from all over the world, and it changes your perspective on humanity. You know, it's like you see so many lines that are similar everywhere you go to people, you know, what they like, what they don't like. And other than playing the music that we love, obviously, which is so much fun, it's the aspect of meeting people and getting to know different people from different parts of the world. That's gold, you know, that's inspiration. That's all we live for. So let's be friends.
Definitely. Sounds good to me. All right, guys. Well, I can't wait to see you when you come to the Apex in Bury with King. I can't wait for you to say it's going to be awesome. At the beginning of the interview, we're going to play Only Love, with it being the latest single. But what song of yours would you like to play at the end of the single, at the end of the interview?
I'd say play either Tomorrow or
This Is
Who We Are Now.
Whichever one you prefer.
Whichever you prefer.
Oh, don't make me choose. That's mean.
Okay, so play This Is Who We Are Now.
Yeah, I'll go with This Is Who We Are there. Well, thanks for your time again, guys, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
See you soon, guys. Take it easy.